In Project 6, we're going to take a look at how we can create and format charts within Word. And in particular, we're going to be creating a column chart and a pie chart. And actually, when we create these charts, they're using Excel as the background, as the method for creating the chart. So if you're experienced with Excel, you'll see a lot of familiarity here as we go through and create the charts. We're going to begin first of all, and you know what, before we do that, if you look at the top of page 36, when you insert a chart, the figure on the right hand side is obviously an Excel worksheet, and you can key in the information that you need as part of the chart in the figure that you see there on the right in the spreadsheet, and then based on that information it'll create a chart with what you see there on the left hand side. So we'll be seeing that here shortly. We are going to start with just a blank document in Word, and then to create a chart we do go to the Insert tab, and then in the Illustrations group we're going to click on Chart, and if you'll notice it brings up the Insert Chart dialog box, and the type of chart that we're going to choose is going to be a column chart, so we'll just click OK. Maybe. Okay, and that brings up Excel, and I'm going to resize this so you can see it. So now we have an Excel chart. Notice Word is running in the background, and it does give you an opportunity to see raw data in there, and you want to try to keep it in this range. However, if you have more or less categories or options here, you can resize the chart data range by dragging this notch down below. Dragging that one right there, and you can increase how many categories you have, or also the series can be increased as well. And we'll experiment with that just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to begin in cell B1. We're going to type in the information that they request, which is sales 2009. And I'm grabbing this information actually from page 37 in figure 1.11. So I'm going to go to cell C10. We'll type in sales 2010 and then sales 2011. And you can make these columns wider. Not that wide. The reason it did that, when I auto fit it, tried to fit and accommodate the text that was in B8. So anyway, we can widen each one of those so that you can at least see what's in those particular cells. And then we're going to begin with the categories in cell A2, and again I'm just getting this from the information in figure 111. And the numbers, I'll type these in. I'll begin here, the 729, sorry. And I'll just press enter to go down. And then I'll pause this and put in the rest of the remaining numbers. Okay, you can see now I've typed in the remaining numbers, and although they tell us to type in as the figure shown there, I chose not to put in the $ and the comma. However, I will go ahead and format that now. I'm going to select the cells that have the numbers in there. Then I'm just going to, we'll see how this happens using the accounting number format. Again, I'll widen these columns just a little bit. And it looks like they've used currency. So we'll use currency, and then we'll also decrease the decimals. And now I think it resembles pretty closely to what we have in the book there. Okay, now from this information we are going to create a chart. So within this, and I'm going to increase the size of this just a little bit here so you can see that. Okay, so we're in Excel. Now when you get the information keyed in, then we're going to close out of Excel. Notice that brings in the chart here. I'm in Word now. You can see that I'm in Word. That brings in the chart, and they do ask that we save this. I'm going to go ahead and do that in case something happens. My computer is running a little bit slow, so I'm going to go ahead and save this as they've suggested so that we don't lose this. Okay, that's 6, not 7. Okay, close enough. All right, now after saving that, then we're going to go through and make some changes. For example, if for some reason one of our items here, the amounts have changed, we can go back to Excel and make changes and update those numbers, and it'll be reflected then in our chart. So to do that, make sure the chart is selected. Notice the Chart Tools, Design, Layout, and Format tab appear. And we're going to go to the Design tab. And in the Data group, notice here this Edit Data, and it has a little Excel on there, but we'll click on that. That'll kick us back into Excel. Again, I'll need to resize this. And then instead of the 698, 278, sorry, we want to change that to 378, 250. And by changing that, that'll automatically update. And this was, let me go back to that a minute. C3 was sales for the Southeast 2010. So 2010 Southeast should reflect the 378, which is right there. It's the red. Okay, so the point there is you can go back and change your data and it'll automatically change the chart that you see in Word. Alright, then we decide maybe that the chart might be easier to read if the columns are as the legend and the actual legend information becomes the rows or the columns along the horizontal axis. So to do that, if you'll go back up on your ribbon, you'll see Switch Row Column. Notice now the years are along the bottom. The actual regions are in our legend. So each one of these data series represent a different region. Okay. All right, now we're going to change some of the styles and the layouts to our chart. And the first thing that we're going to do is change the chart layout. And again, on the Chart Tools Design tab in the Chart Layouts group, I'm going to click on Quick Layout, and we want the third one. We need Layout 3. So as we do that, notice it moves the legend down to the bottom below the horizontal axis. Okay, and then we're going to further customize it by going back to Quick Layout and, whoops, we need Chart Styles, sorry. Chart Styles, we're looking for Style 26. So that's the red, blue, and green. And again, that changes the style of our chart. And then obviously you could choose any style you wanted. This is just something they recommend. Okay. All right, we can also change the chart title that's shown there, and you definitely need a chart title. And then it's also good, they don't actually have you do this, but it's also good to have horizontal and vertical axis titles. So if we go back to the Chart Tools Layout tab, in the Labels group you should see Chart Title. And if you want one to say Above Chart, Centered Overlay Title, either one of those are fine. They're actually going to have you click in here and make the change from here. But if you didn't have a chart title, you'd certainly want to choose the chart title and then choose one of these. Okay? And then if you just click inside of this and select it, we can type in sales by territory. And then if you wanted to add horizontal and vertical axis titles, which I'm going to go ahead and put that in here as well. In the labels group, the axis title, if we want a horizontal title, let's put title below axis. And this is not cooperating. Okay, sales by year. Okay, so that's your horizontal, and all those can be formatted. You could increase the font size of that, whatever you want to do. You can change the coloring, any of that. And then also on the Chart Tools Layout tab, again, axis title, we can choose a vertical axis title. I'll choose the rotated here, but sales in dollars or whatever, just something that describes what's going along along the vertical axis there. Okay, now since we've added that horizontal title at the bottom, you may want to move that legend to the right. So one way to do that, you can actually right click on this and choose Format Legend, which I know you can't see, and you can tell to go to the right. Okay, I'm going to close out of that, and that positions it back on the right. The other thing you can do is back up on the ribbon. You can choose the legend option and tell it where to go here as well. The data labels, we're going to add labels to each one of the data series, and so to do that, go back up to data labels, and on this one we're going to choose outside end, and that shows you what each of the numbers represent. Each one of these colored data series, it'll actually show you the numbers that are representing there. Now when you do that, it's pretty cluttered, so they suggest that we turn those back off. So if we go back up to data labels, choose none, that removes those from the data series. You can also add, these are horizontal grid lines, but you can also add vertical grid lines to it. And so to find those, obviously up on your ribbon in the axis group, you can click on grid lines. And we're going to look at the primary vertical grid lines, and they actually want us to choose just the major ones. So we'll click on that. Notice how that divides out each of the years into categories. And if we go back to vertical axis and choose major and minor, notice that'll segment those out as well. So something to think about. Honestly, I think the major is probably better. They're a little bit darker gray than what you see on the other ones, but adding that minor kind of made it a little more confusing. So we'll just leave it with the major grid lines as they've suggested. Alright, we're also going to add a pie chart at the end of our document here. So I'm going to press Control End, and I'll press Enter a couple of times so that we have the insertion point below that column chart. And I do want to mention, they don't stress this a whole lot, but keep in mind that charts that you create, there's a purpose behind the type of chart that you select. Column charts, bar charts are typically used for comparing information, data, showing some kind of comparison. A line chart will show how changes are made over a period of time, and then a pie chart will show a percentage of a whole. So keep in mind, you don't just choose pie charts because you like the way they look, but there's usually a purpose behind them and how you're going to display or convey that information. So we're going to insert a pie chart, and again we're going to go back through the same steps that we did previously. We're going to go to the Insert tab, Illustrations group, and then Chart. And then this time on the left the category is going to be pie, and we're going to leave it as just a two-dimensional pie, and we'll click OK. Again, that kicks you into Excel. We're going to type in the information that's found at the bottom of page 39. And in cell A1 we're going to identify that column as assets, and then to the right of that is percentage, and I'll just go ahead and type these in. Now notice as I typed those in, that went ahead and added it increased the length of that, so it's going to be included in our chart. But if for some reason that line wasn't included, then other wouldn't be included in your pie chart. So it definitely needs to be around the blue area. And then the percentage is 34%, 22%. Okay, and then this is going to be used to create our pie chart back in Word. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of Excel, and our pie chart ends up here in Word. Notice we're in Word, and we're going to do a couple of things here. The chart style, we are going to change that to 26. Same color combinations that we used previously. And we're also going to change the title to investments, just like we did before. The data labels, we do need data labels, otherwise we're not going to know what the percentages are. So we'll go back up to the Chart Tools Layout tab. Chart Tools Layout tab, data labels. Again, they want these not outside in, but inside end. So now each one of our percentages are going to show within our slices. And then the chart itself, they want it to be able to wrap so that we can position that wherever we need to within our document. So to wrap text, we're going to go back to the Format tab, Chart Tools Format tab in the Arrange group, and then we're going to wrap the text by square. So, and by doing that, that really opens up a lot of opportunities for us to be able to position that wherever we need to in the document. We're also going to change the height and the width of our pie chart. So again, on the Chart Tools Format tab, the size group, the height is going to be 3.3, the width is going to be 5.5. You can see that changing now. And then we're going to do the same thing with the column chart. We're going to make some changes to it by wrapping the text so that it's in square as well. And the height and the width of that is going to be the same size as our pie chart. So 3.3 and 5.5. And then something's going on in the background here. We're going to move that pie chart down a little bit if we can. Let's see this in a different view here. See if we can get this straightened out here. Okay, so we'll see if we can move this chart down. There we go. Not perfect, but okay. So I went to view and then zoom, and then I was able to see the whole page, and that's very helpful when you're trying to position things. So let me take that back to 100%. So now we should be good on positioning and the sizing of our charts. So that concludes chapter 1 of level 2. And the chapter summary begins on page 40 and it goes over to page 41. Concepts check are on pages 42 and 43, and then the skills check begins at the bottom of page 43. So make sure that you go through those assessments, especially going through the ones that may not feel as comfortable with as far as the features are concerned. And then, as always, if you have questions, feel free to email me or call me.